Princess Arya stood in the great hall of the Imperial flagship, watching the transport vessel dock through the massive viewing window. Her crystalline skin caught the light of distant stars, making the blue markings along her arms glow softly. She was 7 feet tall with muscles built from years of combat training. Every Valthian in the room knew she could crush steel with her bare hands. Today she would meet her husband. The thought made her jaw tighten. Not from nervousness, but from duty. The Valthian Empire needed access to human trade routes. The humans needed protection from pirate clans that roamed the outer systems. A marriage between their peoples would seal the alliance. Arya understood her role. She always did what her empire required, but that did not mean she had to like it. "He arrives," said General Kovan, standing beside her. The old warrior had trained Arya since childhood. His gray skin bore countless scars from 100 battles. "Remember, Princess, humans are fragile. Their bones break easily. Their skin tears like paper." Arya nodded. She had read the reports. Humans had weak bodies compared to Valthians. They could not survive in harsh environments without special suits. They needed constant food and water. They died from falls that would barely bruise a Valthian child. The airlock opened with a hiss of pressure equalizing. The human delegation walked through. Arya's eyes found him immediately. Taman, her husband-to-be. He was small, perhaps 5 feet and 9 inches tall. His black hair was cut short and neat. He wore simple gray robes that marked him as a diplomat. His face was smooth and young-looking, though the reports said he was 32 years old. He walked with careful, measured steps, his hands folded in front of him. He looked so breakable. Behind Taman came Ambassador Hana, a human woman with sharp eyes and graying hair. She had negotiated the marriage treaty. 2 human guards followed, wearing light armor that would not stop a Valthian blade. Arya stepped forward. The sound of her boots on the metal floor made Taman look up. For a moment, their eyes met. His were dark brown and very calm. He did not look afraid, which surprised her. Most species showed fear when meeting Valthians for the first time. "Princess Arya," Ambassador Hana said, bowing her head. "May I present Taman of the Soul Colony, your betrothed?" Taman bowed deeply, lower than the ambassador. "Princess, I am honored." His voice was quiet and steady. He spoke Valthian with only a slight accent. That was good, at least. Arya had not wanted to use translation devices in her own home. "Welcome to the Eternal Dawn," Arya said, naming the flagship. She tried to make her voice gentle, like speaking to a child. "I hope your journey was comfortable." "It was, thank you." Taman straightened from his bow. He barely reached her chest in height. "Your ship is magnificent. I have never seen anything so large." The other Valthians in the hall watched with barely hidden amusement. Arya's younger sister, Princess Yuna, stood near the throne platform with several court members. Yuna's lips curved in a mocking smile. "Come," Arya said. "I will show you to your quarters." "You must be tired." "I am well," Taman said, "but I would appreciate seeing where I will stay." As they walked through the corridors, Arya found herself unconsciously slowing her pace. Taman's legs were so much shorter than hers. She did not want him to exhaust himself trying to keep up. Several times she almost offered to carry him, but stopped herself. That would be too embarrassing for him in front of his people. The quarters prepared for Taman were near her own chambers. They had modified the furniture to human size, lowering tables and chairs. The bed was softer than Valthian beds with extra padding. Arya had ordered heating units installed because humans needed warmer temperatures. "I hope everything is acceptable," Arya said. "If you need anything changed—" "It is perfect," Taman interrupted softly. He looked around the room with what seemed like genuine appreciation. "You have been very thoughtful." "Thank you." Ambassador Hana and the guards left Taman to rest. Arya remained for a moment, unsure what to say. This was the man she would marry in 3 days. The man she would share her life with. The man she would have to protect every moment because his body was so weak. "I know this is not what you wanted," Taman said suddenly. He was looking out the window at the stars, not at her. "An arranged marriage to a stranger? To someone so different from your people?" Arya was surprised by his directness. "It is my duty." "Yes, mine too." Taman turned to face her. His calm eyes studied her face. "But perhaps we can make the best of duty. Perhaps we can become friends, if not more." Perhaps, Arya agreed, though she doubted it. How could she be friends with someone she had to constantly worry about? Someone who could be hurt so easily? The next 3 days passed in a blur of preparation. The Valthian court watched everything with great interest. They whispered when they thought Arya could not hear. He is so small. Can he even lift a sword? The princess will break him on their wedding night. What kind of alliance is this? We need warriors, not glass creatures. Arya ignored them. She had her orders from the High Council. The marriage would happen. The wedding ceremony took place in the grand arena. Thousands of Valthians attended, filling the seats that ringed the fighting ground. This was where the Empire's greatest warriors proved themselves. Today, it would host a wedding. Arya wore her formal armor, polished until it shone like mirrors. The medal was engraved with her family's crest. She carried her great sword on her back as tradition demanded. A Valthian warrior was never unarmed even at a wedding. Taemin wore robes of deep blue silk embroidered with silver thread. He carried nothing. No weapon, no armor. He looked like a scholar or a poet, not a warrior. The ceremony began with demonstrations of strength. Valthian warriors lifted massive weights, shattered stone targets, and dueled with practice weapons. The crowd roared approval. This was their culture: power, strength, dominance. Then Taemin's part came. Ambassador Hana had insisted humans perform their own traditions. Taemin walked to the center of the arena and simply bowed to the four directions. North, south, east, west. He spoke words in his human language that Arya did not understand. Then he bowed to her. That was all. The Valthian crowd fell silent. Then scattered laughter began. They thought it was a joke. Where was the display of might? Where was the proof of worthiness? Arya felt her face burn with embarrassment. Not for herself, but for Taemin. He stood there calmly as if he did not hear the mockery. His face showed nothing. High Priest Voreth completed the binding ceremony. He wrapped a silver cord around Arya's wrist and Taemin's, joining them. By the light of Valthea's sons, you are now one unit, one purpose. Until death releases you. Arya felt the cord's weight. It felt like a chain. That evening there was a feast. Arya sat at the high table with Taemin beside her. Yuna was on her other side, eating with aggressive energy. Sister, Yuna said loudly, making sure nearby tables could hear. Your husband is very quiet. Does he speak? He speaks when there is something worth saying? Arya replied coolly. How wise. Yuna's voice dripped with false sweetness. He must save his strength. Talking can be so exhausting for delicate creatures. Several courtiers laughed. Taemin continued eating his food calmly, using the strange two-stick utensils humans preferred. If he heard the insult, he gave no sign. Later, a drunk Valthian officer named Commander Soren stumbled toward their table. He was massive, even for a Valthian, with scars covering his arms. Princess, he boomed, let me congratulate you. And your pet. He reached out as if to pat Taemin's head. Arya moved faster than thought. Her hand caught Soren's wrist before it touched Taemin. She squeezed, not hard enough to break bone, but hard enough to hurt. He is my husband, Arya said in a voice like ice. Show respect, Commander. Soren paled and bowed quickly. Of course, Princess. My apologies. Too much drink. When he left, Arya released a breath she did not know she was holding. She glanced at Taemin. He was watching her with those calm, dark eyes. Thank you, he said quietly. But that was not necessary. Yes, it was, Arya said firmly. You are under my protection now. Something flickered in Taemin's expression. It might have been sadness or frustration, but it passed so quickly Arya thought she imagined it. Of course, Princess, Taemin said softly. As you say. That night in her chambers, Arya stood at her window and looked at the stars. In the quarters next to hers, Taemin was sleeping. She had guards posted at his door. The corridors were cleared. She had made sure everything was safe for him. He was her responsibility now. Her husband, her burden. Arya touched the silver cord still wrapped around her wrist. The marriage was complete. The alliance was sealed. But she could not shake the feeling that something was wrong. The way Taemin had looked at her after she protected him from Soren, the careful way he moved like every step was planned. The absolute calm in his eyes even when being mocked. It reminded her of something. She could not place what. General Kovan had told her once that the most dangerous warriors were the ones who showed no emotion. The ones who moved with quiet purpose. The ones who never wasted energy on useless displays. But that could not apply to Taemin. He was human, fragile, weak. Arya dismissed the thought and went to bed. She had many duties ahead. Keeping her human husband safe would be the most important one. The first week of marriage was difficult. Arya tried to be a good wife by Valthian standards. That meant protecting her mate from any possible danger. She made lists of safe areas where Taman could walk. She posted guards outside his door at all hours. She had his food tested before he ate it, even though no one would dare poison a member of the royal family. Taman accepted everything with polite silence. "You do not need to test my food," he said one morning at breakfast. "It is for your safety," Arya replied, not looking up from her reports. "Human bodies are sensitive to many substances that do not affect Valthians. I have been eating Valthian food for a week with no problems. That does not mean we should take risks." Taman said nothing more. He simply ate his tested food quietly. The court watched their marriage with great interest. Every interaction was examined and discussed. Arya heard the whispers everywhere she went. "She treats him like a child. Poor princess married to something so useless. At least he is decorative." Arya ignored them all. Let them talk. She knew her duty. Every morning, Arya trained in the Royal Combat Gymnasium. She had done this since she was 5 years old. It was as natural as breathing. She would spar with guards, practice with her great sword, and run the obstacle courses designed to push Valthian bodies to their limits. One morning, 3 weeks after the wedding, Taman appeared in the gymnasium doorway. Arya was in the middle of sparring with 2 royal guards. Her sword moved in great arcs, forcing both warriors back. Sweat covered her crystalline skin, making her glow in the artificial lights. She saw Taman from the corner of her eye and immediately stopped. "Taman, what are you doing here?" She lowered her sword. "This area is dangerous. I came to ask if I could join your training," Taman said. He wore simple exercise clothing. His arms were bare, and Arya noticed he was more muscled than she had thought. "Not like a Valthian, but lean and defined. Join," Arya repeated. She looked at the 2 guards she had been fighting. They were breathing hard, and one had a bruise forming on his shoulder where her practice blade had struck. "Taman, I appreciate your interest, but this training would injure you. I am stronger than I look. I am sure you are. For a human." Arya tried to soften her words with a smile, but Valthian combat training is designed for Valthian bodies. Even our children's exercises would be too much for an adult human. The 2 guards looked uncomfortable. One of them, a young warrior named Minho, spoke up. "Princess, perhaps the human could watch. Learn our techniques?" "That's a good idea," Arya said, relieved. "You can observe, Taman. Would that be acceptable?" Taman's calm expression did not change, but Arya saw his hands tighten into fists for just a moment. Then he relaxed them. "Of course," he said quietly. "Thank you for your consideration." He sat on a bench near the wall and watched. Arya returned to her training, but she found herself distracted. She kept glancing at Taman. He watched everything with intense focus, his eyes following every movement. He did not look bored or afraid. He looked calculating, like he was studying them. After training, Arya walked with Taman back to their quarters. "I hope you were not offended," she said. "I am only thinking of your well-being." "I understand," Taman replied. "You are trying to keep me safe." "Exactly." Arya felt better. He understood. But after that day, Taman began disappearing. Not for long. A few hours here and there. When Arya asked where he had been, he said he was exploring the ship or reading in the library. The guards confirmed he went to these places, so Arya did not worry much. She assumed he was just bored and needed mental stimulation. Humans were supposed to be very intelligent, even if their bodies were weak. What Arya did not know was that Taman had found an abandoned cargo bay in the lower levels of the ship, a place where the cameras did not work and no one ever went. And there alone he practiced meanwhile. Yuna was getting bolder with her insults. At a state dinner attended by ambassadors from 3 different star systems, Yuna made sure to sit near Taman and Arya. "Tell me." "Taman," Yuna said sweetly, "what do humans do for fun?" "I imagine you cannot participate in our combat sports, or our strength competitions, or our hunting expeditions." "Humans have many entertainments," Taman replied politely. "We enjoy music, art, literature, and games of strategy." "Games of strategy?" Yuna laughed. "How charming. While we hunt beasts that could tear apart a tank, you play games." "Strategy has its place," said Ambassador Hana, who was also at the dinner. Her voice was tight with controlled anger. "Perhaps if you studied it more, Princess Yuna, you would understand that strength is not the only form of power." Yuna's eyes flashed. "Are you suggesting I am stupid, human?" I am suggesting there are different kinds of intelligence. The table went silent. Everyone could feel the tension. Arya knew she should intervene, but she was frozen. Yuna was her sister. Hana was insulting a Valthian princess in front of foreign ambassadors. Taman set down his cup carefully. My wife's sister is a formidable warrior, he said calmly. I have heard stories of her victories in battle. Such achievements require both strength and intelligence. I am sure Princess Yuna has nothing to prove to anyone at this table. It was perfectly diplomatic. He had complimented Yuna while gently diffusing the situation. He had made it seem like Hana's comment was unnecessary because Yuna's reputation spoke for itself. Yuna blinked, surprised. She had expected him to either insult her or cower. Instead, he had given her respect while somehow making her look petty for attacking him. Well said, Yuna finally replied. She did not apologize, but she stopped her attacks for the rest of the dinner. Later, Arya thanked him. That was skillfully done. Diplomacy is what I was trained for, Taman said. Words can be weapons too, princess. Call me Arya, she said. We are married. You do not need to be so formal in private. Arya, he repeated, testing the name. He smiled slightly. It was the first real smile she had seen from him. Will you call me simply Taman then? Not my husband or human like the court does? Of course, Taman. Arya felt strange. This was the first real conversation they had had since the wedding. I apologize if I have been distant. There is much to manage. I understand. You have responsibilities. They talked more that night than they had in all the previous weeks. Taman told her about Earth, about the soul colony where he grew up. He described trees and oceans and seasons. Arya told him about Valthia Prime, her homeworld. She told him stories of her childhood training, of her first hunt, of the day she earned her officer's rank. For a moment, Arya almost forgot that Taman was fragile. He seemed so confident when he spoke, so steady. But then he stood to leave, and she remembered how small he was, how easily he could be hurt. Be careful walking back to your quarters, she said. The corridor lights are dim at this hour. The expression on Taman's face flickered again. That same look she had seen before. But he only nodded. I will be careful. Good night, Arya. The next day there was a military parade. The Valthian fleet was celebrating a victory over pirates in the Outer Rim. Thousands of soldiers marched through the main hangar bay, which had been cleared for the ceremony. Arya stood on the observation platform with other members of the royal family. Taman stood beside her. Below them, warriors in full armor marched in perfect formation. War machines rolled past. Weapon displays fired blanks into the air with thunderous booms. Each time a weapon fired, Arya instinctively moved in front of Taman. She told herself it was just protective instinct. But by the 10th time, she noticed Taman had stopped trying to look around her. He just stood there, blocked by her body, seeing nothing of the ceremony. Yuna noticed too. Sister, you are blocking your pet's view. Perhaps you should hold him up so he can see. Like a child? Laughter rippled through the nearby nobles. Arya's face burned. She had been trying to protect Taman, and instead she had humiliated him. I can see fine, Taman said quietly, but his voice was tight. After the parade, Arya tried to apologize. I did not mean to. I know what you meant, Taman interrupted. His voice was still quiet, but there was an edge to it now. You meant to protect me. You always mean to protect me. Is that so wrong? No, but... Taman paused. He seemed to be choosing his words carefully. Protection can be a prison, Arya, even when it is given with good intentions. I do not understand. I know, Taman said sadly. Thank you for your concern. I need to go rest. He left before Arya could respond. She stood in the empty corridor, confused and frustrated. What did he expect from her? He was human, fragile. If she did not protect him, who would? General Coven found her standing there. Princess? Is something wrong? I do not know, Arya admitted. Taman seemed unhappy. He is far from his home. That would make anyone unhappy. It is more than that. Arya shook her head. Sometimes I see something in his eyes. Like he is angry. But he never raises his voice or complains. Coven was quiet for a moment. In my experience, Princess, the most dangerous warriors are not the ones who scream and rage. They are the ones who stay calm, the ones who watch and wait. Taman is not a warrior. He is a diplomat. Perhaps. But Coven did not sound convinced. Still, I have seen the way he moves. Very controlled. Very precise. It reminds me of someone trained in combat. You think all humans are trained in combat? No, but I think that one might be. Kovan bowed his head. The attack came without warning. Arya was in a council meeting with General Kovan and several fleet commanders when the alarm started. Red lights flooded the chamber. The sound was deafening, a piercing wail that meant only one thing. Enemy contact. Report. General Kovan barked at the communication officer. Multiple ships decloaking. Crover-class signatures. The young officer's voice cracked with fear. They are everywhere. Arya's blood went cold. The Crovar Marauders. They were the most dangerous pirate fleet in known space. They used stolen military cloaking technology to appear right on top of their targets. By the time you saw them, it was too late to run. Sound battle stations, General Kovan ordered. All warriors to defensive positions. Seal the Royal Wing. The Royal Wing. Taman was there. Arya ran. Behind her, Kovan shouted something, but she did not stop. The corridors were filled with running soldiers. The ship shook as weapons fire hit the shields. Somewhere, metal screamed as a hull breach opened. She reached the Royal Wing and found it in chaos. Guards were taking positions at every corridor intersection. Blast doors were coming down, sealing off sections of the ship. She saw Ambassador Hana being escorted by 2 human guards toward a secure bunker. "Where is Taman?" Arya demanded. "In his quarters, Princess," one of her guards reported. "We sent someone to bring him to the secure vault." Another explosion rocked the ship. This one was closer. The lights flickered. "They have boarded us," Kovan said, arriving behind Arya. His sword was already drawn. "Crover boarding parties are like insects. They will spread through every level. I need to get to Taman. Princess, your place is in the command center. My place is with my husband." Arya did not wait for permission. She ran toward Taman's quarters. The corridors became a battlefield. Arya encountered her first group of Crovar pirates at an intersection. There were 4 of them, wearing mismatched armor and carrying crude but effective weapons. They saw her royal armor and charged. Arya drew her great sword. The blade hummed with energy as it activated. She met their charge with her own, and the fighting was brutal and fast. The Crovar were strong and vicious, but Arya had trained her entire life. Her blade cut through armor and bone. Within seconds, all 4 pirates lay dead. She kept running. Behind her, she heard more fighting as Valthian guards engaged other boarding parties. The ship shook again. Emergency lights cast everything in red shadows. She was almost to Taman's quarters when a blast door slammed down in front of her. No. Arya hit the door with her fist. The metal did not even dent. These doors were designed to contain hull breaches. Nothing could open them except the main computer, and it was in emergency lockdown mode. Taman was on the other side. Alone. "Override," she shouted at the control panel. "Royal override. Code Area 77 Valthea." The panel blinked red. "Override denied. Emergency protocols in effect," Arya wanted to scream. She looked around desperately. There had to be another way. The maintenance tunnels. They ran parallel to the main corridors. She could go around the blast door. She found a maintenance hatch and pried it open with her enhanced strength. The tunnel was narrow and dark, meant for repair drones, not people. Arya had to crawl on her hands and knees. Her armor scraped against the metal walls. She could hear fighting through the hull. Weapons fire, screaming. The sounds of people dying. She crawled faster. The tunnel opened into a storage room. Arya dropped down and got her bearings. She was 2 corridors away from Taman's quarters. She drew her sword again and ran. The corridor leading to his quarters was empty. Too empty. The bodies of 2 Valthian guards lay on the floor. They had been killed quickly, their throats cut. Professional work, Arya's heart hammered. The Crovar had gotten here first. She reached Taman's door. It was open, hanging loose on broken hinges. Inside, the room was dark except for emergency lighting. She stepped through carefully, her sword ready. The quarters appeared empty. Furniture was overturned. Taman's desk was smashed. Papers were scattered everywhere. Signs of a struggle. "Taman?" Arya's voice cracked. "Taman, where are you?" No answer. She was too late. They had taken him. Or worse. Then she heard a sound from the corridor she had just passed. Back the way she came. A wet, choking noise. Arya spun and ran back. She turned the corner into a narrow service corridor that connected to the main hallway, and she stopped. 6 Crovar pirates lay dead on the floor. Their blood pooled on the metal deck, still fresh and warm. They had not been shot. They had been cut. Clean, precise cuts to vital areas: throat, heart, major arteries. Each wound was surgical. No wasted motion, no excessive damage. Standing among them, breathing calmly, was Taman. He held a sword. It was thin and elegant, nothing like the heavy Valthian blades. The metal seemed to shimmer in the red emergency lights. It was clean. Not a drop of blood on it despite the carnage around him. Taman wore his simple gray robes, but they were torn in several places. Beneath the tears, Arya could see his skin was unbroken. He had avoided every attack, Arya, Taman said quietly. His dark eyes found hers. Are you hurt? She could not speak, could not think. What she was seeing made no sense. Taman had killed 6 Krovar pirates alone, with a sword she had never seen before. You? Arya's voice failed. How? Before Taman could answer, more sounds echoed from the main corridor, shouting in the Krovar language. More pirates were coming. We need to move, Taman said. His voice was still calm, like he had not just killed 6 warriors by himself. How many are behind you? I do not know. The ship is being boarded everywhere. Then we go forward. Taman moved toward the sound of the approaching enemies. Stay behind me. Behind you? Arya finally found her voice. I'm a trained warrior. You should be behind me. Arya? Taman looked at her. Really looked at her. I know you want to protect me, but right now I need you to trust me. Can you do that? She wanted to argue. Every instinct screamed at her to push him behind her, to shield him with her body. But something in his eyes stopped her. They were the eyes of someone who knew exactly what he was doing. I trust you, she heard herself say. Taman nodded once. Then he moved. 8 Krovar pirates came around the corner. They saw 2 targets and charged with savage war cries. What happened next, Arya would remember for the rest of her life. Taman moved like water. No, like wind. He was there and then he was not. His thin blade flickered in the red light. Where it passed, pirates fell. He did not waste a single motion. Each step was placed perfectly. Each strike hit exactly where it needed to. A Krovar swung a massive axe at Taman's head. He ducked under it so low his hand touched the floor, and his blade cut across the pirate's leg. The pirate screamed and fell. Before he hit the ground, Taman was already moving to the next target. It was not like Valthian fighting. Valthian combat was about power. Strength against strength. You battered your enemy down with superior force. This was something else entirely. This was precision, efficiency. Every movement had a purpose. No energy was wasted. A pirate tried to grab Taman from behind. Somehow Taman knew he was there without looking. He spun, his blade spinning with him, and the pirate's hand fell away, severed at the wrist. Taman's sword continued its arc and opened the pirate's throat. Arya stood frozen, her own sword hanging loose in her hand. She was supposed to be fighting. She was supposed to be protecting Taman, but he did not need her protection. The last pirate, seeing all his companions dead, tried to run. Taman moved like a striking snake. He closed the distance in 3 steps and his blade pierced the pirate's back right where the heart was. The pirate fell. The corridor went silent except for the distant sounds of battle elsewhere on the ship. Taman pulled his blade free and stood still for a moment. His breathing was slightly elevated, but not much. He looked like someone who had just finished a light exercise, not someone who had just killed 14 warriors. He turned to Arya. Are you all right? Arya could not form words. What are you? I am your husband, Taman said. His voice was gentle but firm. And right now your husband is telling you we need to keep moving. More will come. As if his words had summoned them, alarms blared from the direction of the royal vault. More pirates had found the secured areas where the royal family sheltered. Arya's training finally kicked in. The vault. Yuna is there. The royal children. Then we go there now. Taman started running and Arya ran with him, but now everything was different. She was not running to protect him. They were running together, as equals. They found another group of pirates trying to breach the vault door with cutting torches. There were at least 12 of them. Too many even for Arya, but Taman did not hesitate. He charged and Arya charged with him. This time she fought beside him instead of in front of him. And she began to understand. His speed created openings. Her strength exploited them. When he drew enemies' attention with his quick strikes, she crushed them with powerful blows. When her large swings left her exposed, he was there, his blade deflecting attacks she never saw coming. They moved together like they had trained together for years, like they were two parts of one weapon. The pirates fell. All of them. When the last body hit the floor, Arya and Taman stood back to back, breathing hard. The vault door opened. General Coven emerged with a squad of guards ready to defend the royal family. He saw the dead pirates. The battle was over. The Crovar marauders had retreated when Valthian reinforcements arrived. The pirates had lost too many warriors and gained nothing. They fled back to whatever dark corner of space they came from, leaving behind only bodies and damage. The Eternal Dawn was hurt but not destroyed. Crews worked to repair hull breaches and restore damaged systems. Medical teams tended to the wounded. The dead were prepared for funeral rites. Arya sat in her private quarters, still wearing her battle armor. Blood had dried on the metal. Her hands were shaking and she could not make them stop. Taman sat across from her. He had cleaned his blade and put it away somewhere. He had changed into fresh robes. Except for a small cut on his cheek, he looked exactly as he had before the battle. Calm, composed, like he had not just killed 20 warriors with his bare hands and a sword. "I owe you an explanation," Taman said finally. "Yes," Arya agreed. Her voice sounded strange to her own ears. "You do." Taman was quiet for a moment, gathering his thoughts. "What do you know about my past before I became a diplomat?" "The marriage contract said you served in Earth's colonial union, some kind of administrative position." "That is technically true. I did serve the colonial union." Taman looked down at his hands. "But not in an administrative position. I was part of the Special Diplomatic Protection Corps." "What is that?" "Earth has many colonies spread across dozens of systems. Some are in dangerous regions. Pirates, hostile aliens, corporate mercenaries. When diplomats need to negotiate in these places, they need protection." Taman met her eyes. "I was that protection. For 8 years." Arya felt like the floor had dropped away beneath her. "You were a soldier?" "I was a bodyguard. But yes, that required military training. Extensive training." Taman stood and walked to the window. Stars drifted past outside. "I joined when I was 18, fresh from home, wanting to see the galaxy. I thought it would be exciting." "Was it? At first?" His voice grew distant. "I protected ambassadors during trade negotiations with pirates. I stood guard while scientists studied dangerous alien ruins. I escorted supply convoys through war zones. For the first few years, I thought I was doing important work." "What changed?" Taman touched the window, his reflection ghostly in the glass. "I saw too much death. Too many good people killed for stupid reasons. Territory disputes, resource claims, pride. I escorted a peace delegation to a mining colony once. There was a dispute between the miners and the corporation that owned the mines. We thought we could negotiate. We thought everyone wanted peace." He paused. Arya waited. "The corporation sent mercenaries instead of negotiators. They opened fire during the meeting. Killed everyone. I was the only survivor because I saw them reaching for their weapons and moved first." Taman's hand formed a fist against the glass. "I killed 11 mercenaries that day. Saved no one. The people I was supposed to protect all died. That was not your fault. I know. But it still happened. After that day, I realized I was tired of violence. Tired of death. When my contract ended, I requested a transfer to the diplomatic corps. Real diplomacy. Using words instead of weapons." He turned back to face her. They agreed. "I spent 2 years learning negotiation, cultural studies, languages. I became what you thought I was. A diplomat, a man of peace. But you kept your skills," Arya said. "The fighting. You still trained." "Yes. Old habits." Taman almost smiled. "And because the galaxy is still a dangerous place, I hoped I would never need those skills again. I tried to be the person you thought I was. Why did you not tell me?" "Would you have believed me?" Taman asked gently. On our wedding day, when everyone was laughing at the weak human? If I had said, actually, I am a trained warrior, would anyone have listened? Arya thought about it honestly. No, she admitted. We would have thought you were boasting, trying to save face. Exactly. And more than that. Taemin sat down again, closer to her this time. Arya, I was trying to respect your culture. In Valthian society, the strong protect the weak. That is honorable. By letting you protect me, I was honoring that tradition, even though it was difficult. Difficult? I am a warrior, Arya. I have been trained since I was 18. When you would not let me train with you, when you blocked me from seeing the military parade, when you treated me like I would break. He paused. It was like being in a cage, a comfortable, well-meaning cage, but still a cage. Arya felt shame burn through her. I was trying to help you. I know. That is why I never complained. I knew you meant well. Taemin reached out slowly, giving her time to pull away. She did not. He took her hand gently. But it hurt, Arya. It hurt to be treated as useless when I knew I was not. It hurt to be mocked when I could have proven them wrong. It hurt to watch you fight alone when I could have fought beside you. Then why not prove yourself? Show everyone what you could do? Because that is not who I want to be anymore. Taemin's voice was firm. I did not want to come to this marriage as a warrior. I wanted to come as a diplomat, as a partner, as someone who could help build peace between our peoples through words and understanding, not violence. But you fought today. You killed those pirates. Because you were in danger. Taemin squeezed her hand. I told myself I would not fight again unless it was absolutely necessary. Today, it was necessary. You could have died, Arya. I could not let that happen, not when I could prevent it. Arya looked at their joined hands. Her hand was so much larger than his, her skin glowing with crystalline light while his was soft and brown. But his grip was strong. Steady. The blade you used, she said. What is it? It is called a Hwandu Daido, an energy blade based on ancient Korean sword design. Taemin released her hand and stood. He walked to a hidden panel in the wall that Arya had never noticed. He pressed it, and the panel opened. Inside was his sword, mounted on a rack. Humans developed these for close combat in space stations and ships where projectile weapons are too dangerous. The blade is only one molecule thick at the edge. It can cut through almost anything. Arya stood and approached the weapon. It was beautiful, simple and elegant. Nothing like the heavy, brutal Valthian blades. May I? Of course. She lifted it from the rack. It was surprisingly light. She gave it an experimental swing. The balance was perfect. This is a master weapon. It was given to me when I completed my training, by Master Daiho, one of the greatest swordsmen in human space. Taemin watched her handle the blade. He taught me Muya. That is what you saw me using. An ancient martial art from Earth adapted for modern combat. It was unlike anything I have ever seen, Arya admitted. Valthian fighting is about strength, about overwhelming your opponent with power. Muya is different. It is about precision, using your opponent's strength against them, moving efficiently so you never waste energy. Taemin took the blade back and returned it to its hiding place. Humans are not as strong as Valthians or Krovars or most other species. We had to learn different ways to fight, ways that let us survive against stronger enemies. General Kovan's words came back to Arya. He had said Taemin's movements reminded him of combat training. He had been right. You fought Krovars before, she realized. That is why you knew exactly where to strike them. Yes. On the outer colonies, Krovar raids are common. I have fought them many times. Taemin looked sad. Too many times. Arya sat down heavily. Her mind was spinning. Everything she thought she knew about Taemin was wrong. He was not weak, he was not helpless. He was a trained warrior who had chosen to put down his sword, and she had forced him to pick it up again. I am sorry, she said. For what? For treating you like you were fragile. for not seeing what you really are, for making you feel caged. Arya looked up at him. I thought I was protecting you, but I was only protecting my own assumptions, my pride. I did not want to admit that a human could be strong, that I might not always be the strongest person in the room. Taman knelt in front of her so they were eye to eye. You are strong, Arya, stronger than me in many ways. I could never lift what you lift. I could never take the hits you take in battle, but strength comes in many forms. I'm beginning to understand that. Arya touched his face gently, careful of her strength. Her finger traced the small cut on his cheek. You were hurt. Barely. I was careless for a moment. You saved my life today. You saved many lives. We saved each other, Taman corrected. When we fought together, we were stronger than either of us alone. Your power and my precision. That is what partnership should be. Someone knocked on the door. General Coven entered without waiting for permission. He looked tired, but determined. Princess, Taman. He bowed to both of them equally. The High Council has called an emergency session. There are questions about what happened during the battle. Questions? Arya frowned. We defended the ship. What questions could there be? Coven looked uncomfortable. There are witnesses who saw Taman fight. Many witnesses. The story is spreading through the ship. A human who fights like a ghost, who killed Krovar warriors with a blade no one had seen before. So Princess Yuna has raised concerns. She says if Taman hid his abilities, what else might he be hiding? She questions whether the marriage is based on deception. She is calling for the union to be reviewed. Arya stood, anger flooding through her. She is calling for what? It gets worse, Princess. The Grand Arena had never been so full. Every warrior on the fleet had come to watch. Every noble, every officer, every crew member who could get away from their duties. The seats rose in massive tiers around the fighting ground, and every single one was occupied. Thousands of Valthians waited to see if the marriage between their princess and the human would survive. Arya stood in the preparation chamber beneath the arena. She could hear the crowd above, their voices like distant thunder. She wore her battle armor, freshly repaired and polished. Her great sword hung on her back. But now she also carried something new. A smaller blade, lighter than Valthian weapons that Taman had helped her choose. Taman sat on a bench nearby, checking his equipment. He wore light armor now, made from human materials that would not slow him down. His Huandu Daida was at his side. He looked calm, but Arya had learned to read the small signs. The way his fingers tapped against his leg. The slight tension in his shoulders. He was nervous. She was nervous too. The first challenge is pure strength, Arya said, reviewing what they knew. Lifting, breaking, that sort of thing. I will handle that alone. Agreed, Taman said. The second is the endurance race through the obstacle course. We do that together, but I can take some of the technical sections while you handle the strength sections. And the third is combat against 3 champions. Taman stood and rolled his shoulders, loosening up. That is where we will win or lose everything. Do you know who Yuna chose? General Coven told me. Commander Soren is one. The drunk who tried to pat my head at the wedding feast. Arya grimaced. Soren was massive and brutal. He holds the record for most consecutive victories in the arena. 63 matches without a loss. Who else? Captain Jiho, she leads the Spear Division. Known for her speed. A speed fighter? Taman looked interested. That could be problematic. And the third is General Coven himself. Taman's eyes widened. Your mentor? Why would he agree to fight against you? Because Yuna asked him, and he serves the Empire above all else. If the Council demands proof of our unity, he will test us properly. Arya managed a small smile. He told me privately that he hopes we win, but he will not hold back during the trial. I would not want him to. Taman picked up his sword and did a few practice movements. The blade hummed softly. We trained hard these past 3 days. We know each other's movements now. That was true. For 3 days they had done nothing but train together. Arya had learned some of Taman's techniques, the quick footwork and precise strikes. Taman had learned to work with her power, to use her as both shield and hammer. They had practiced combinations, called out strategies, learned to move as one unit. But would 3 days be enough? A horn sounded above them. The trial was beginning. They climbed the stairs to the arena floor. As they emerged into the light, the crowd roared. It was not a cheer or a boo. It was just noise. Thousands of voices creating a wall of sound that crashed over them like a wave. Arya scanned the crowd and found her family's box. Una sat there looking smug and confident. Beside her were members of the High Council, the ones who would judge this trial. On the opposite side of the arena stood the three champions. Soren huge and grinning, Jiho lean and focused, and Kovan his face unreadable. High Priest Vorath walked to the center of the arena. He was ancient even for a Valthian. His voice was amplified so everyone could hear. We are gathered to witness the trial of unity. Princess Arya and her human mate Taemin have been accused of a false bond. They must prove through 3 challenges that they are true partners. He raised his staff. Let the first challenge begin. Servants brought out heavy weights. Each was a solid block of compressed alloy marked with numbers. The smallest was 1,000 pounds. The largest was 10,000, the test of strength, Vorath announced. Each side must lift and carry these weights across the arena. The side that moves the most weight wins. This was pure Valthian competition. Arya knew she was strong even by Valthian standards. But Soren was famous for his strength. This would be close. I will handle this, Arya told Taemin quietly. Save your energy. Are you sure? Yes, trust me. Taemin nodded and stepped back. Soren went first. He grabbed the 5,000-pound weight and lifted it with a roar. The crowd cheered. He carried it across the arena, his muscles bulging, and set it down on the other side. Then he went back for the 3,000-pound weight. Then the 2,000-pound weight. When he was done, he had moved 10,000 pounds total. He was breathing hard but grinning. Arya's turn. She started with the 10,000-pound weight. The crowd went silent. That was the heaviest weight. Most warriors never even attempted it. Arya bent, gripped the handles, and pulled. Her legs burned. Her back screamed. But she had been training with even heavier weights since she was a child. The block lifted off the ground. She carried it across the arena. Each step was agony, but she did not stop. She set it down carefully and went back for more. By the time she finished, she had moved 12,000 pounds total. More than Soren, the crowd exploded. Even those who opposed the marriage could not help but cheer. It was an impressive display of strength. Soren looked shocked, then angry, but the judges marked Arya's victory. First challenge goes to Princess Arya and Taemin, Vorath announced. Taemin was waiting when Arya returned to their side of the arena. He handed her water. That was incredible. That was necessary, Arya said, breathing hard. We need every advantage. The second challenge was announced. The obstacle course. The arena floor transformed. Sections rose and fell, creating a nightmare landscape of climbing walls, balance beams, and strength tests. There were barriers to smash through, chains to climb, and platforms to leap between. The course was designed to test everything: strength, speed, agility, endurance. Both partners must complete the course together, Vorath explained. The fastest team wins. Jiho and one of Kovan's lieutenants would run for the champions. They were both excellent athletes. This would be much harder than the strength test. The champions went first. Jiho and her partner moved well together. Jiho's speed got them through the agility sections quickly, while her partner's strength broke through the barriers. They finished in 6 minutes and 40 seconds. Then it was Arya and Taemin's turn. Stay close, Arya said. Call out if you need help. Same to you, Taemin replied. The horn sounded. They ran. The first obstacle was a wall 30 feet high. Arya jumped and grabbed handholds, pulling herself up quickly. Taemin climbed beside her, his lighter body moving with practiced ease. They reached the top at the same time. The second obstacle was a series of platforms that had to be jumped. They were far apart, requiring great leaping strength. Arya went first, her powerful legs launching her across gaps that would be impossible for most species. Taemin followed, running faster to build momentum, using his lighter weight to his advantage. Third was a tunnel filled with swinging hammers. Timing was everything. Arya used her enhanced reflexes to slip between the hammers. Taemin moved like a ghost, seeming to predict where each hammer would be before it got there. Fourth was a wall that had to be smashed through. Pure strength. Arya hit it with her shoulder and the wall crumbled. They ran through the debris. Fifth was a narrow beam over a pit. This was where Taemin took the lead. His balance was better, his steps surer. Arya followed carefully, her larger body making the beam seem even narrower. They worked through each obstacle, calling out warnings to each other, helping where they could. When Arya struggled with a section that required precise timing, Taemin guided her through. When Taemin needed extra strength, Arya provided it. They crossed the finish line. The judge checked the time. 6 minutes and 33 seconds. New record. They had beaten the champions by 7 seconds. The crowd was going wild now. This was exciting. The underdog human and his Valthian princess were actually winning. Yuna's face in the royal box was dark with fury. 2 challenges down. 1 to go, the final challenge. Forath's voice rang out. Trial by combat. Princess Arya and Taemin will face 3 champions in open battle. Any weapons are allowed. The fight ends when one side yields or cannot continue. This was it. Everything they had trained for. Soren, Jiho, and Kovan entered the arena. They drew their weapons. Soren had a massive warhammer. Jiho had twin curved blades. Kovan had his traditional sword and shield. Arya and Taemin took their positions. Arya drew her great sword. Taemin drew his Huandudaido. The thin blade hummed to life. For a moment, there was absolute silence in the arena. Thousands held their breath. Then the horn sounded. Soren charged immediately, his hammer raised. Arya met his charge, her sword blocking the hammer blow. The impact sent shockwaves through her arms, but she held firm. Jiho went after Taemin, her twin blades flashing. But Taemin did not try to match her speed. Instead, he used the technique Arya had helped him develop. He moved in close, inside her range, where her long swings were useless. His blade flickered and one of her swords went flying, knocked from her grip. Kovan advanced on both of them, his shield raised. He was the most dangerous because he was smart. He would not charge like Soren or overcommit like Jiho switch. Arya called. They had practiced this. She disengaged from Soren and went for Jiho. Taemin flowed away from Jiho and toward Soren. The crowd gasped. Taemin looked insane facing the massive warrior.